I guess it's the solo version for now of the Gut Reaction podcast after the Broncos lost. There he is. Chat's about to rejoin us in a second. This is, though,
That was
the
so weird. Go on. Sorry.
I'm just introing it. It's the rapid reaction, gut reaction to the Broncos overtime loss to the Chargers, which pretty much puts a nail in their season as far as I'm concerned, Chad. And any lingering hope I had for Nathaniel Hackett is now gone. I'm not on the fire Hackett bandwagon just yet, but I'm increasingly getting there.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to lose at this stage, Zach, in hitting the panic button? Have you seen anything that gives you cause or reason to harbor a little seed, a little kernel of belief and hope that this team can turn it around? I mean, you saw in the first quarter how things could maybe look, but this team just doesn't have what it takes, Zach, to hang through 4 quarters of attrition and not be the ones to blink multiple times.
It's the defense keeping the Broncos in the game and the Broncos offense never doing enough to take advantage of it, Chad. Good teams snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. The Broncos snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They are not a good football team. And I'll say again, if Brian Daboll was the head coach, they'd be 4-2 right now at absolute worst.
EJ jumped in very early before we even went live. Thank you for the super chat, Big Dog. He says, again, I haven't ever seen a bigger bunch of good to great players come up as losers so often. This team, from GM to coach and players, I don't know, needs blown up and rebuilt. It's a bad joke. 6 years plus in the making. I'm tired. I feel it, dude. Yeah, it's if Simmons isn't too hurt to be on the field, he should retire. His effort tonight was embarrassing. Yeah, we'll get to some individual performances, EJ, but I want to keep it, Zach, a little bit more macro for the moment, okay? And welcome in everybody, the gut reaction episode here of the MHH pod. The strangest thing of all time, I hit go live, and then all of a sudden the browser went, oh, sorry, we're having a problem from StreamYard, and it says, but it's not your fault. I'm like, what the heck? Then I come back and it's live. I'm like, worst thing possible that happened. Could have happened. It's like the Broncos. Are we being cursed now by the? I'm just kidding. Zach, macro level, what did you see? Anything tonight that gave you encouragement at all?
I would have said the special teams, but Montreal, he bobbled a few and he muffed that last one, even though that was more on PJ Locke for being too close to him in the first place. The defense played well. They busted their asses, Chad, for 5 quarters for the most part. They broke a little bit. They were pretty bad on third down, which is shocking because they've been so good on third down the entire year. But what more could you ask of them? Limiting a high-powered offense like Justin Herbert and the Chargers to basically a series of field goals. I mean, they kept the Broncos in the game into overtime, and Russell Wilson chance after chance after chance. The play calling, though, this game to me was not on Russ. No, he did not play like a $250 million quarterback, but Hackett continues to baffle me with his sequencing, his mental mindset during these games. 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, every time it's short yardage. Is it under center? No. Is it a run play? Probably not. It's a 3rd and 1 shotgun pass play, a low percentage shot down the sideline as someone like Jerry Jeudy, who has zero chemistry and continuity right now with Russell Wilson. There is nothing to take out of this game other than Nathaniel Hackett is not the right coach of the Denver Broncos.
I'm going to grab this. I have to concur on that point, my friend. We're going to grab this super chat from Addison and then a quick matter of business. Addison says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this offense is as bad as it was when Drew Lock was the quarterback, and it might be worse. The O-line is so bad. We'll come back to that. All right. We are going to circle back to that topic. What the heck, dude? There we go. Sorry. Bear with me 1 second. Geez, the StreamYard tools are irritating me. Guys, lots more to get to. First, though, all right, listen, just the other day, this is true story. I received a phone call from my bank, and they're asking me if I'd use my credit card at at Walmart for X amount, which I had not. So that meant that some internet thief had stolen my card number. Bank took care of me, no worries. All right, got me a new card sent out. But prevention, you know what they say, it's the best cure. That's why I now use NordVPN on all my browsers, whether it's desktop, tablet, laptop, phone. And of course, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and NordVPN protects you as a one-stop shop for all things cybersecurity. It's incredibly easy for me to use, which means I don't have to have a MIT degree to figure it out. With just one click, I'm protected. It's very intuitive. And with my NordVPN account, I can have up to 6 devices, which is key, protected. And I no longer have to worry about the hackers, the malicious sites, the pop-ups, for the price of a single cup of coffee per month. Peace of mind. Plus, here's what's cool. With NordVPN, I never am slave to the media blackouts. I can switch my virtual location to a market that is showing the Bronco game or the NFL game, whatever that I want to watch, so I don't miss out and can watch the action live, Zach.
Yeah, Broncos country, grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/MHH to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 months for free. It is completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's nordvpn.com/MHH to get 4 months free. Take advantage of that.
All right, let's get right back into the chat. We appreciate the support from NordVPN. The Brainstorm saying they need to fire him now. Vic Fangio was better. Franklin saying it's not going to happen, but Butch Berry and Hackett need to be let go immediately. Zach, this is something Ryan says we need to fire Hackett. I feel it. Yep, totally reshuffle the O-line. Defense again look good, but can't do it on their own. Zach, one of the things that is the most alarming to me here, and this was something Scott and I were BSing about before we went live, is that you're seeing constant little lapses of discipline and things that just come out in the wash that blow up in the Broncos' face. And the talent's there. This team is as talented as the one they lost to today. All right. But the lapses, the coaching, I just don't think it's going to get much better for Nathaniel Hackett. So what do you do if you're George Paton?
I don't know, though, that the talent is there. I mean, you look at the defense, I could say for sure, yeah, and the injuries are something to take into account. But when you look at the Broncos O-line, Chad, they are all replaceable. They are below mid. They are downright bad, embarrassing, egregiously incompetent. Look at Dalton Risner continually blowing off the ball. Cushenberry continually blowing off the ball. They had to bring in Billy Turner off the bench to play right tackle. They moved Fleming to left tackle because Calvin Anderson was so bad. Jerry Jeudy has no chemistry with his receiver. Who do you have as your number 5, number 6 guys? You have Montrell, who flubbed tonight, and you have Tyree Cleveland. Melvin Gordon, by the way, the talented running back, so people call him, he was benched. And Hackett will probably use the injuries, the ribs, the neck, or whatever, but he was flat out benched in favor of Latavius Murray. Yeah, Russell Wilson's the big-time get there, and he's the $250 million quarterback, but I take a little bit of umbrage with saying they have the talent on that side of the ball. It's not just the coaches. The players are not making the plays.
Yeah, that offensive line, man, it was bad. Like, Russell Wilson frustrates me so badly right now to watch him because I know he's better than what we're seeing. That one play on 3rd down in the first half where he had Greg Dulcich wide open over the middle on 3rd and 1, and he just took a sack instead. It's like, Russ, what are you doing? This dude has completely forgotten how to beat the blitz. Like, the P's and Q's of what you do pre-snap, the P's and Q's of how you beat it once the ball is snapped. Austin H. says, no more shade to Zach. He's right to be pessimistic. Yeah, I'm not going to hate on anyone. I'm not going to try and advise anyone who says I'm hitting the panic button. There's just nothing there to give you cause at this point to believe it's going to get any better. It's going to be one frustrating 60-minute session of football watching after another until Nathaniel Hackett is fired. And then you go, all right, we got to get someone in here that's going to maximize Russell Wilson. And I really feel bummed out for Broncos fans because this was supposed to be the year. And it's looking like you're going to have to wait one more, at least.
It's the injury bug. It's the quarterback not rising to the level the Broncos thought they were getting. And it's the head coach who's so completely in over his head. He makes Vance Joseph look like Bill Walsh. It really is that apt of a comparison because Hackett is clueless. He's either too naive, too stupid, or too stubborn to realize what is not working. And he doesn't call the plays conducive to Russell Wilson's success. He did in the first quarter. That first quarter was amazing, but what happens after that? Why do they fall off? Why is there no consistency? Why are they so Jekyll and so Hyde? Why do they have 170 yards in penalties, Chad? That's on coaching. If I dinged Vic Fangio for that or VJ for that, I got to do it for Nathaniel Hackett. This team is undisciplined, they're unprepared, and they they shrivel up in the face of decent competition. And by decent, I mean even the Chargers or the Raiders. How can you ever expect a Nathaniel Hackett coach team to go toe-to-toe with Kansas City? The NFL should flex that, what is it, week 14, out of prime time right now. Ain't no one want to see that, least of all Broncos country.
No. Patriot Text, thank you, buddy. He says, every time I think Denver's going to turn the corner, they let me down. Hackett continued jamming a square peg in a round hole. No blitz besters, no slants, no drag routes. Can we at least call Sean Payton? Yeah. Well, that's
you
the
can
thing
call him. I don't think he'll answer.
You know, at this stage, and I'm seeing a lot of the Fire Hackett stuff. I feel you, Neil. Thank you for the super chat, big dog. We do appreciate it. And comments like this from Keith: we are poorly coached and the O-line sucks. Offensive coaching and play calling sucks. Brian is holding back the expletives. We feel you, big dog. All right. We do appreciate you holding it back. We try to keep this family-friendly show. Okay. James says, Russ ain't seeing the field. Doesn't have time. I'm seeing receivers giving up on plays. Yeah, dude. I agree on that. Russ, he looked a little bit better. In fact, I would say that the first half was the best version of Russell Wilson, the quarterback we've seen this season. But then he went back into the shell in the second half and beyond. Zach, I don't know. Look, people say like the Seattle Seahawks hit piece that came out the few days before the revenge game, week 1, that he's lost the legs. He looked twitchy today, dude, when he had to break the pocket. And I know a lot of times he ended up running into pressure, and that's kind of a Russell Wilson thing, and always has been at times. It'll run into pressure, but he was twitchy, dude. I don't think it's a father time thing. I don't, Zach. I don't think this is a man who is losing command of his faculties in real time here. I think this is a between the ears thing and a coaching thing. So how do you fix it? Well, you need improved coaching. How are you going to get that with a guy who is so clearly not ready for this moment? Nathaniel Hackett, Zach, is swimming. He's in over his head, and it might even be worse than, say, Vance Joseph, the first-time head coach, younger guy, because he actually was gifted a franchise quarterback.
See, I don't think, to your point, that Russ is like season 6 junior soprano, full-blown dementia, losing his faculties and like an old man out there, Chad, but he's not a $250 million quarterback. And I hate to keep harping on that number, but he never makes the plays that you expect him to make. I mean, he did in the first quarter. Again, the throw to KJ Hamler, that was one of, if not his best throw of the entire year. And he did that with pressure, of course, right in his grill because Cushenberry can't block a traffic cone. But still, where is that 350-yard, 3-4 touchdown game from your quarterback? That's your new field general, your captain, your leader, you're this and you're that. You have to have at least one of those on film through 6 games. So I think he's somewhere in the middle. I think he's an average middling quarterback. The problem is the Broncos didn't trade for and then pay an average middling quarterback. They paid him like an elite quarterback, and he hasn't been that. And I think it largely is due to Nathaniel Hackett's incompetency, but it cannot be fully exonerated either. It's also on Russell Wilson for not stepping up and making those plays. He missed way too many open receivers tonight, Chad. Once again, a continuing theme.
And he just holds on to the ball too long. I get it that his protection has been really bad, and today it was maybe the worst we've seen it against the Chargers, but he's not getting rid of the ball. Like, if you know your O-line can't hold up, you have to know where you're going pre-snap, and if it's not there, dude, you got to start understanding what it means to throw the ball away. Well, what's up, brother? He says, I just can't anymore. I don't want hope. I want wins. What's a bigger liability? Damari Mathis or this waste of space called an O-line, another wasted defense? And again, that's on coaches for not figuring out ways to help Mathis. Now, one of those calls was ticky-tack. The third one that he got, all right, he got 4 of them. The third one that he got was ticky-tack, and it was like the refs were just looking for reasons to throw flags on that dude. He had one redeeming play that he broke up on 4th down, and that was great to see. It's a nice little confidence booster, but you know, the coaches, Evero's like the only guy I really have any confidence in right now, Zach, and it's just not enough. It's not enough to take you the distance when you have a defense that's pretty good for what it is, but there's nothing else going on. This isn't the 2015 Broncos, which makes you realize also how special that unit was. Jay Fig says, the offense is a problem, the defense is great, but my goodness, are the refs out there calling out to get us, calling us for everything, and didn't even call the kicking team push. The kicking team push, was that the fumble at the end, the muffed punt? I'm not sure, but that, dude, I'm sorry, that was on the Broncos. That was on PJ Locke not having playing heads up football, and it was on Washington as well. That was his second muff punt of the night. Mac Dog, keep your chin up, big dog. Fire Hackett, fire him tonight, make Evero the head coach, and find an OC. Zach, there's no chance that happens, right? Week 6, there's no chance the Denver Broncos are firing a head coach.
Well, to the point about Damari Mathis, I think he got hosed on a couple of those DPIs. I mean, they don't let him play out there, and it seems like the refs were throwing a flag on either team every other play. He's also really good in run support. I think in time, Damari Mathis will be a solid number 2 cornerback. I think he's the built-in long-term replacement for Ronald Darby. But where was Michael Ojemudia? They activated him off IR for the game. They don't bring him in there to help Mathis out when he's struggling. It's more of the coaching staff, and I'm not putting too much on Evero because that defense kept the Broncos in the game. But that's why I mentioned the talent is not there, Chad. When you have PJ Locke playing serious special team snaps and he has a brain fart, you end up losing the game because of that. So all around, from top to bottom, from coach to player, it's a dumpster fire right now.
Naj, love you, buddy. Thank you. He says, just when I thought this team couldn't find another way to lose. Wow. Offense so inept, 151 yards and penalties, no discipline whatsoever. And that's how you know it's coaching, guys. It's not like this was like, oh, whoops, out of the blue, 151 yards of penalties. No. They entered this game with only one other team had more penalties called on them, and no other team had more penalties enforced on them than the Broncos entering this game. How you don't put that at the feet of the coaching staff, I don't know. But he said, I don't want to see this offense scoring over 20 against any NFL team. Defensive effort wasted. Yeah, and especially, Zach, a guy like Baron Browning, who's like really stepping up to the plate. It's hard to get excited when you know it's basically, walking into a buzzsaw as far as the team's outlook every single week.
I think this season might be a wash and you have to turn the page to 2023, but there are some things to love going forward, Baron Browning being one of them. The guy is the Broncos' best pass rusher since Von Miller. He's has explosion I have not seen since Von. Get off, the ability to convert speed to power off the edge. I think it was an amazing move. I'll eat some crow from Evero moving him from off ball. If the Broncos don't retain Bradley Chubb, it's because of Baron Browning. He's been that good.
Yeah, Alex, I am tired of shotgun plays too, especially on third down. Third and 1, third and 2. Try running the ball once in a blue moon, Hackett. At least that way you create the possibility in the minds of your opponent that you might do it at a later date. Robert Otteson, please stop the bleeding. Fire Hackett. Yeah, it's going to be, you can tell when a season kind of takes on a life of its own. Like, it was bad at times tonight, Zach, but it was nowhere near the crap fest that it was the Colts game. And yet the commentators, right? Joe Buck on there talking like, oh, this is bad. This is just, hard to watch type stuff. It's like, come on, dude. It's a football game that comes down to the wire. But the Broncos now are building up this thunderhead of outside noise and expectation and pressure and criticism. And you can tell it's squeezing them, dude. It's squeezing them. Preconceived notions from all angles when it comes to the way the media is covering this. And I'm talking about the national media like this right here, Chris. They know they can run it on third down, right? Thank you for the super chat, bro. Where is the tactical wherewithal to understand which way the wind is blowing here? Like, I'm sorry, dude. Nathaniel Hackett, he just isn't it, Zach. I'm running out of things to say about it, but Nathaniel Hackett is not the guy.
It's amazing. You had a running back like Murray ripping off 6-7 yard runs consistently. You had an RPO that worked with Russell Wilson earlier in the game, and on 3rd and 1, you're going to go a shotgun pass. It's shades of Pat Shermer, but worse, because at least Shermer would sometimes adapt. He would sometimes go off script and call a good play and surprise us all. It seems like Nathaniel Hackett, he'll have glimpses early in the game, but in crunch time later, the fourth quarter, overtime, he shrivels up into nothing. I don't want that man leading my football team, Chad, and I've kind of turned the page as well on Hackett as the head coach.
Yeah. Lilo, thank you, buddy. First half was great. Second half sucked. What went wrong? How abysmal was this game? What went wrong was that the Broncos could not protect Russell Wilson, And Russell Wilson, I think, Zach, started seeing ghosts a little bit. He kind of lost his poise. And then late in the game, I'm talking fourth quarter and overtime, when the offense was given multiple opportunities, handed opportunities back by this defense to go win the game, they came up small. They couldn't figure it out. And then it became one of those games where the first team that blinks is going to lose it. And what do you know? Surprise, surprise. Who was the first team to blink? Turned out it was the Denver Broncos in the form of that muff punt. That's what happens to bad teams. All right, it's a bad team. It's a bad team. And who knows? Maybe there's a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks that they can turn it around and slough this off and get back to some semblance of competitive plausibility, Zach. But I am definitely not. I'm not expecting to see it. Orange says 100% agree. Hackett play calling predictable. Russ at fault for some plays, but Hackett's scheme atrocious and predictable. It is. From the sequencing to his tendencies. I mean, again, what Chris said, do they know? They know they can run it on 3rd and 1, right? On 3rd down. I know it's kind of unpopular, Zach. A lot of fans will boo when a team tries a run on 3rd down, whether it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Doesn't matter. A lot of times they'll boo, but who cares? At this point, running out of everything out of shotgun, I mean, they are just completely predictable and transparent.
If you want to run on 3rd down, but you're under center, you at least have the illusion of run or pass. If you're in shotgun, it's pretty much giving away and showing your hand. I don't understand the logic, and he insists on running those same type of plays the entire year. That is a coach who's unwilling to change, unwilling to adapt, and what makes it worse, he's wasting, again, a $250 million quarterback who the franchise risked their future for and mortgaged their future for. It's just bad right now. Not getting better.
I want to grab this from D-Dub, but real quick. The whole shotgun thing. It's very common for quarterbacks to, especially as they get older, to be more comfortable out of the shotgun. They feel like they can see the field a little bit better from the gun pre-snap and whatnot. And when you start losing foot speed a little bit, which is not an issue for Russell Wilson, but it was for Peyton Manning circa 2015. In 2015, he and Gary Kubiak had to come to a compromise because Peyton wanted to keep the shotgun thing going on, but Gary Kubiak knew that it basically gives you a flat tire when it comes to the run game. So their compromise, what was it? The pistol. At least in the pistol, the defense can't sell out in terms of shading all of their pressures and the way they're going to defend it towards a pass or a run. And it kind of was janky. It didn't work the greatest in 2015, but it kept the offense a plausible threat, kept defenses guessing. D-Dub, appreciate you, big dog. Very generous. He says, this is not on Wilson. Poorly executing offense across the board. No blitz adjustments on wideouts and tight ends part. No rhythm to this offense, which means there is no timing. Cushenberry is so bad. We need a different play caller. No situational offensive awareness. Yeah, it's so frustrating because if we can see it watching from the comfort of our homes, this is a guy that does it all day long, every day, for millions and millions of dollars as a head coach and a play caller. Why is he missing it, Zach?
He just ain't it. You know, some guys are better number 2s or number 3s, as the case may be, and maybe Hackett falls into that category. And I just read on Twitter what he said about the offensive struggles, and I quote, "First and foremost, it starts with me. I feel like I can do more." You know, that's Tom McMahon vibes to me. I don't want you to tell me that. That is zero comfort, you getting up there and taking accountability for a loss. How about being better on game day? How about just magically finding that solution for what works with your offense? You feel like you can do more, then why haven't you done it? If you can be better, why haven't you been better? Mm-hmm. This is not week 1. This is not the preseason. This is week 6 now, and you're actually regressing as a play caller. Just ain't it.
By the way, if you're just joining us, we got almost 2,000 people in the room across different platforms. We appreciate you being with us. All right. This is the Mile High Huddle podcast. This is our gut reaction. Zach, Corey H. jumps in with the super chat to say the experiment is over. Hackett is to be fired immediately. And if George Paton doesn't do it, have the owners clean house with him included since he hired this idiot. I'm done. It's unwatchable. Yeah, it's pretty bad, dude. It's pretty bad. But guess what? I mean, it takes some sort of controversy. It takes some, and by controversy, I mean like the coach getting busted cheating, or like a Gruden situation where he brings shame on the franchise or whatever, for a coach to get handed his walking papers 6 weeks into the season, especially they're 2-4. They're not 0-6. It's bad. It's really bad. And I don't disagree with you, Corey, that the experiment is over. Like, we know the result. We don't have to guess and wonder, oh, I wonder what this experiment is going to reveal. Seems like we know it. And Zach, if I wrote once, I probably wrote it 3 or 4 times in different articles this past week. The Broncos fans are tired of hearing about it. What's one of Dalton Reisner's favorite quotes? Don't talk about it, be about it. And yet that's all Broncos fans have been given to, satiate themselves, satisfy themselves, is words instead of deeds. And like you said, if Hackett's up there right now and he has the cashews to say, I feel like I could do more, it's like, yo, dude, then why aren't you doing it? That's a great point.
That's what I said days ago. I tweeted it. I said, it doesn't mean anything when you keep saying it. I don't care about words. I care about actions. The let's ride thing, that's not cute anymore. It's not cutting edge anymore. No one's buying into that anymore. No one cares about the affable, goofy Nathaniel Hackett. His personality means zero to me. It's what he can do as a play caller and as a head coach. And unfortunately, I was optimistic that he would trend more toward the Nick Sirianni line or spectrum in terms of head coaches who struggle in year 1 but get it right in year 2 with their quarterback. But Nathaniel Hackett is way more on the Freddie Kitchens end of the spectrum, and to me, that's a fireable offense being on that side.
James, appreciate the super chat. Defense, amazing. Offense sucks. Hackett needs to go. Also, our skill players on offense aren't as good as we think they are. Absolutely awful. I don't typically enjoy Troy Aikman games. I just think his analysis, I don't know, it just, for me, it leaves a lot to be desired. But he did say one thing tonight that I was going amen to.
It was killing the Broncos.
Dude, these receivers are not creating separation. So you've got this like perfect storm of negative factors. You've got an offensive line that can't pass pro. You've got a quarterback that's not seeing the field, and you've got wide receivers who aren't creating separation and showing like they want to be out there, with the exception of maybe Sutton and maybe Hamler. And then to add insult to injury on those factors, Zach, as far as the perfect storm, you've got a coaching staff that doesn't know what it's doing. It's bad.
And you also have a running back like Melvin Gordon literally pouting on the sideline and looking mad because Latavius Murray is doing good. Then you have Jerry Jeudy going up to Melvin Gordon, two malcontents, and going off about the offense. I think I read Jerry Jeudy's lips and he said we should have thrown the ball there. This is what I was talking about after the Colts game, Chad. You see the first crack in the foundation with KJ Hamler, and yeah, just like a cavity, that little crack eventually becomes a full-blown, your tooth is falling out of your head and you're in the
root
dentist
canal,
chair
baby.
for $5,000. That's quickly how it can spiral, and that's what happens to the Broncos now, and it's mostly the fault of the leader of men, Nathaniel Hackett.
And that's something, too, that Scott and I were talking about as well right before we went live, is you can see the fracturing begin to happen. Like it's happening. And you go, oh, well, some veteran wherewithal, some leadership can keep this ship afloat. Not without results. All of Russell Wilson's best efforts comes off as shtick to his teammates when it's not coming out in the wash. Eddie says, thank you guys for always being here. Rough night once again. Defense looks great, but man, what goes on in the middle of the field offensively, like an invisible wall. Shake my head. I know. And then you have a guy who obviously has shown you in one debut, Greg Dulcich, a propensity, Zach, for playmaking ability. How many targets did my dude get tonight? Let's take a quick peek. He had 3, and he caught 2 of them for 44 yards.
How many in the second half? Crunch time.
Maybe 1 in the second half, I think, if I'm one of those 3 in the second half.
The dude scores a touchdown in his first game. You finally have a tight end 1, some sort of safety blanket for Russell Wilson, and you're forcing passes to a receiver like Jerry Jeudy, who has no chemistry with Russell Wilson, nor does he look like he wants to have chemistry with Russell Wilson. That's what I'm talking about, man. I don't know if it's Russ, audibling or honing in on one guy, or Hackett calling the plays, but something is wrong in the chain of command. And until it changes, Chad, you're going to see more losses in that side of the column.
Yeah, Scott's saying 2 targets in the first quarter. All right. The third one was a third down bullet over the middle in the fourth in the end zone, right? The one that they had to settle for a field goal on that one on Dulcich. But yeah, dude, just nothing's working. And this is one of those situations. I don't know, exactly how involved or hands-on George Payton has kind of been as this process has played out, but if he hasn't had a where the bear goes potsy in the woods type of meeting with Hackett and like rally this coaching staff together and whip them into shape, crack the whip, you got to do it now. Like you're at a point now where you have got, I mean, even Zach, if for no other purpose, but the interest of self-preservation, if you're George Payton, like you got to do something. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Lawrence, can we recognize how big of a factor tight end is for us? That's the one spot that, if chosen correctly, could open huge plays. Well, it seems to have been chosen correctly. Greg Dulcich seems like he was a good pick. I mean, it sucks that you didn't see him for the first time till week 6 as your 3rd round pick, but looks like he's a stud. Anthony says, for every good drive our offense has, we have 10 horrible ones. It's embarrassing, penalties, disgusting. The curse continues. Yeah, it's like, the Chargers it's not like the Chargers put up a ton of points because the Broncos were, typical kind of bend, don't break, Zach. But isn't it crazy? I kind of remarked on this on Twitter while the game was going on, how the Chargers and Justin Herbert, they just seems like everything comes easy, even against a stiff kind of savvy, predatory type of defense like the Broncos. Like everything just seems to come easy. Well, it's not that it's easy. It's that they play with high levels of intensity and focus. They want it more. The Broncos offense is proving, dude, that they are like a ship without a rudder. There's no focus. There's no one there that knows really what they're doing. And Russell Wilson, if anything, Zach, what he's proven is that, don't put him in the same conversation as Peyton Manning. He's not a guy that can take over and raise the ships and cover for a bad play call or audible to something that he knows is going to work. Like, you can't trust him to do that. So you need a coach that can come in and be that for you. And it sucks, Zach, you're in the middle of a season. And no savior's coming right now. That's why Broncos fans are fit to be tied, because they're seeing the writing on the wall that it's another season wasted, and then we'll grab RD.
I guess looking back on it, there was red flags right after the Hackett hire when he hired a coach for the coaches. Isn't that supposed to be the head coach? Isn't that his job description? It seemed like he wanted everything done for him and he deferred to everybody else. And there's too many cooks in the kitchen, too many voices in his headset, and he's supposed to be the prevailing voice. But you mentioned one Justin. I want to talk about another Justin here, Justin Simmons. This quote pretty much, and it's only 4 or 7 words, it eviscerates Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach and proves there's a mutiny, I think, between offense and defense. Stop me if you heard that before in recent years. This is from Simmons, quote, on what's gone wrong through the Broncos through 6 games. Quote, I don't know. It starts with leadership. It starts with the head coach, is what Justin Simmons is saying there. And he was impassioned on the sideline going into overtime. He was really being the leader that Nathaniel Hackett or Russell Wilson should be. And for him to go through another losing season, another season where the defense busts their ass for 60-plus minutes and the offense doesn't pull their weight, these are the cracks that are quickly spiraling out of control. And just like in the VJ years, just like in the Vic years, those cracks lead to the head coach's demise.
Yeah, fractures beyond repair. RD says, why don't we have pass plays that go for 5 to 10 yards? Our O-line sucks, but we keep trying for 5-second dropbacks. Even the big Judy pass, holding the ball too long, usually ends in a strip sack. Yeah, I mean, learn the lesson of the Super Bowl 50 Carolina Panthers and the long developing pass plays and the 5 and 7-step drops. Nathaniel Hackett, I don't think caught that game. Orange, he's saying we should trade for picks. I mean, you got to trade some really good players to get anything worthwhile. King Shaba, thank you for that very generous super chat.
I'll take a candy bar for Melvin Gordon. He has no value anymore to this Broncos team. Latavius Murray out affected him, outperformed him in his first game with the Broncos a couple weeks after being signed off the street. So, yeah, the Broncos should think about not being fire sellers, but trading off some of their players for desperate capital they sorely need after the Russell Wilson trade.
James, yes, the numbers of the points that the Broncos have given up, yet somehow 2 and 4, disgusting, hard to watch. Yeah, they were the 3rd ranked scoring defense going into this, I want to say. And they're 0-2 in the division. Faded Wolf, where were the play action boot plays? The rookie tight end playing well. Why not go back to him? Need a new O-line, give Russ time, coaching. Yeah, you do need to give Russ more time when he drops back. But I'm not sure that if you give Russ time With this coaching staff, that you should still expect him to get any better than what you're seeing at this point. Like this coaching staff, Zach, is woeful. Outside of Giro Evero, props to him.
There should be one scapegoat that goes right away. I don't know how plausible it is, and that's Butch Barry. What an awful decision it was. And Mike Munchak wasn't perfect, but my God, did he have these players, the same ones, by the way, for the most part, playing at a much higher level than Butch Barry. I'm so tired of seeing Reisner on his back, Cushionberry get manhandled. The Broncos right now don't have a capable right or left tackle. If there's someone who's going to fall in the sword immediately, it might not be Hackett, but it damn sure should be Butch Barry.
Silent One says, I usually don't disagree with Zach this much, but Hackett isn't responsible for Russ folding. That was the worst QB half since Kendall Hinton versus the Saints. The second half, Zach.
Russ folding when he literally can't even drop back before he's hit or pressured or sacked. The guy has zero time. I think it was Aikman who said the receivers couldn't even get to the first down marker and turn around for the ball before Russell Wilson was on his back. How do you expect him to make any plays with that O-line that's just an open swinging gate? I'm not exonerating Russell Wilson fully. He's not, I keep repeating this, not playing like the quarterback the Broncos paid him to be. But when you have an O-line that can't protect, you have receivers that can't get open, and you have an OC that can't call competent, worthwhile plays, what do you expect one quarterback to do? By the way, that quarterback is playing with a bum throwing shoulder. This loss to me was not on Russell Wilson.
Jonathan, thank you, buddy, for the super. He says, guys, you said this team would be 10-7, 9-8. What blame do you put on George Payton giving Russ and Hackett long-term deals? And the reason that the team is losing, if you're George, what's next? Yeah, that's another thing about the George Payton situation is like you look at some of the moves he's made, getting accolades for his first draft class, getting that deal done to get Russell Wilson, but then it appears he botches the head coach hire and does woefully little to upgrade or impact the O-line in the offseason. I mean, you go, no, Jensen, listen, he signed 2 right tackles. What more? And then he re-signed Calvin Anderson. Ooh. What more do you want this man to do? Are you kidding me? The 2 guys he signed off roster were both damaged goods. They're both injured. So George Payton shares plenty of complicity for what's going on right now. The O-line notwithstanding, just simply what's happening with his coaching staff. Like you said, Zach, we should have been alarmed by, he's going to hire a guy to coach the coaches. Huh.
Isn't that the head coach?
Wait a minute. You're right. It's like, duh. EJ, I have to agree with Zach. I no longer can say this team is talented enough. Bad coaching, poor execution, it just equals terrible football. I wasn't all in on a Super Bowl this year. Thought they could compete for a playoff spot, though, but I was wrong. Yeah, that's basically where I think most people were at, EJ, including those of us who are on the media side of this, is that, all right, it looks like the pieces are there for maybe not in year one pushing for a Super Bowl, but this should be a plausible playoff threat caliber team. Nah, they've become literally, it pains me to say this, Zach, the laughingstock of the NFL. At 2-4, somehow they've become the laughingstock of the league.
Let me ask you a question. How do the Patriots win games with Bailey Zappi at quarterback after losing Mac Jones? How does some of these other coaches around the NFL, Daniel Jones and the Giants, for example, Brian Daboll, what he's done in New York, that's a much less talented roster than what's in Denver. Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. Sorry, Giants fans listening, but yet he's making more. He's getting more juice out of the squeeze. It comes down to coaching for me, Chad. And you talked about Russell Wilson not stepping up in crunch time, whether the blame is on the coach or the quarterback. It's both. And no one, you, me, anyone included, really thought it'd be a Super Bowl run this year, but 11 wins wasn't out of the realm of possibility when you look at the roster and you look at the quarterback, and we thought was an innovative offensive coordinator who was going to be the right fit as the head man leader of men. If that was Brian Daboll, they would get to that 11-win threshold, I believe. But with Nathaniel Hackett, when the coach isn't right, as we've learned over and over and over, you can rotate the quarterback. You can rotate the personnel. You can rotate the schedule. It doesn't matter when you don't have it at head coach. And the Broncos, once again, for the 3rd straight time, don't have it at head coach.
Patrick, thank you for the stars, bro. Seriously, throwing down big time. Broncos Denver on Facebook, our great community over there. We love you. We appreciate you. It's a busy night. We've got almost 2,000 people in this live chat, and it's a quickly moving chat. So we appreciate everybody who is here with us, participating in the conversation. Those of you throwing down stars, throwing down super chats, helping us keep the lights on. It means a lot to us. Jorge says, I'm so done with this. Why is it that we always go for the rookie head coaches and new quarterbacks, almost like doubling down on the difficulty factor? Fire Hackett, get a veteran coach at least. Yeah, the finalists, Zach, reportedly were two first-timers, Hackett and O'Connell, and then the players' coach, veteran, would have been on his second go-round, Dan Quinn. I would have been okay with Quinn. He wasn't my first choice. I wanted the Broncos to do something with an offensive-minded head coach. But I think at the very least, if Dan Quinn was your head coach, you would have gotten a pretty good offensive coordinator hire, and your team would be playing hard. That's one mark of the units and teams under Dan Quinn. I know it kind of went off the rails a little bit in his last year or two in Atlanta, but that's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing intensity. We're not seeing accountability. We're not seeing leadership. All of the intangible components, I'll tell you, I do think the talent is there. Offensive line, maybe, the exception to that, but this team is as talented as the teams they're losing to. It's the intangible components that the Broncos, once again, are short on, because the component to the team, Zach, that's responsible for cultivating those intangibles, they keep getting that wrong. All the coaching staff is intangible influence. They don't play the game. They're 100% intangible in how they influence the product on the field, which is why you got to get that right. Miguel Cush needs a seat right next to Melvin Gordon. Yes, he does. And you know what? If that wasn't enough, if that wasn't the final nail for Butch Berry and Nathaniel Hackett, and Russell Wilson too, by the way, to say, all right, Cush, we're sitting you down. Glasgow, you're the center. Or I don't care. Miners, you're the center. Glasgow, you're the right guard. Cush can't be on the field anymore. Do I expect that to happen? No. I expect them to plow forward, steady as she goes.
Listen, I'll be the first one to say I was a big Nathaniel Hackett fan during the interview process. He was my guy. And according to John Elway, he did a recent interview. It was a really close call between Hackett and Kevin O'Connell, who the Vikings hired. And the Vikings right now are playing really, really good football. They're a very technically sound, disciplined team. Two things the Broncos are not. You can argue they have better talent on the offense. You can argue Kirk Cousins is playing better quarterback than Russell Wilson, but it's the entire team. They just look more disciplined. They look like they've been there before. This Broncos team looks like the longest yard, where no one really knows each other. Everyone's just kind of banded together, and they're all trying to learn about each other on the fly and having no sort of brotherhood or continuity, chemistry. You watch any other game on a Sunday, any other team, they look like they're all a band of brothers. They're all one heartbeat. The Broncos are no heartbeat. They're flatlining right now. And it stems from, I agree with Simmons, no leadership. Whether he meant that in terms of Nathaniel Hackett or Russell Wilson, I saw none of that. What he did, the speech, the fire, the passion, I'm not seeing any of that from anybody else. So that's where you start to see the one side versus the other mentality.
Let's rapid fire through some super chats, because we're at about 43 minutes and we're going to have to get going here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. Addison says the Seahawks pulled off the biggest finesse of the century. What a haul they got at the expense of our misery. Indeed. EJ, thank you, buddy. He says, sorry, Zach, I don't agree with you that the Simmons quote is all about the coach. Yes, that leadership is bad, but Simmons has been a, quote, leader for years, and it's still the same garbage. It's time he looks in the mirror, which is it's a fair point to say that Simmons is known as the leadership. Well, how does it come out in the wash? How does it serve the Broncos, Zach?
Well, let's do a multiple choice. The Broncos lost this game because of A, the defense, B, the quarterback, or C, the coaching. You can go with B or C. You can't go with A. Simmons wasn't perfect, but I love the fact that he's trying, that he has that fire, that passion, that energy. Someone needed to get pissed off on the sideline, and it should have been Hackett. It should have been Russell Wilson, and it wasn't. So, yeah, his play wasn't perfect, and it's the same old garbage the last 5 years, but I'm not pinning this loss tonight on Justin Simmons.
This dude, Justin Herbert, Zach, threw the ball 57 times, connected on 37 of them. He got 238 passing yards. This is a stingy freaking passing defense, dude. He even got picked off. So, yeah, I'm not inclined to put this on the Broncos defense in any way, shape, or
Without
form.
cornerback too, by the way, and without Stearns playing tonight.
And with one cornerback just getting mercilessly picked on and the refs kind of like piling on. MacDog, Hackett is in way over his head. We need a veteran coach calling plays. Keep Evero, find a good seasoned coach. I hear you, buddy. Jacoy, after further review, we are an O-line away from being below average. Yeah. Luke Ellis, I have held out hope that we'd improve each week, but it's hard to believe that now. 170 yards and penalties. Can't make winning plays in key moments. Yeah, O-line plays anemic. Worried about our ability to turn it around this year. You should be, big dog. You really should be. This was the pivot point. This was the opportunity. You got the mini buy. You got the 10, 11 days, depending on how you want to count it, okay, to self-scout, diagnose where you're going wrong, put in the extra time, lick your wounds if you're banged up. This was your opportunity to pivot. This was your turning point moment, and you came up small. And I think that's probably, Zach, that's the harbinger for how this is going to go. Andre, thank you, buddy. Ed Keating, fire Hackett. I'm tired of this excuse. He's a rookie head coach. So is the Giants, the Vikings, the Dolphins guy, and they're getting more out of their quarterbacks that are not as good as Wilson. We are a joke. The season is over. Cody Mathis, 87 yards in penalties. Was O.J. Mudia active? Yeah, Zach, what was the
Pretty sure he was active, and he
Broncos
was activated off
inactives?
IR for the game.
I'm going to look that up real quick because I'm doubting myself.
Austin says, would you fire Hackett if the Broncos lose to the Jets? I don't know that Peyton's going to be so reactive and so impulsive as to pull the plug on the coach he handpicked with new ownership looking over his shoulder, unless he's pressured by that ownership group. I think he's going to get the season and they'll go from there. But I wanted to say to a previous thing, if there's one thing I can criticize George Payton about, it's not paying Russell Wilson or trading for Russell Wilson. It's neglecting the people who protect Russell Wilson. The same situation that got him run off in Seattle is playing itself out in Denver again, is the fact you can't protect him, the fact that Peyton did not do more to shore up that offensive line. But good thing they have Nick Bonito, right?
For what it's worth, OJ did suit up tonight. Faded Wolf. What about the face mask on Dulcich? No call. Yeah, I'll give you this. It's kind of a loser's mentality to blame a loss on the refs. You can't blame this loss on the refs, but I will give you this, okay? They were kind of piling on, especially Mathis. They're really piling on Mathis. Two of those, I think you could say, yeah, those were solid PIs. One was real ticky-tack, and the other one was like borderline. Michael Davis, Zach, you ask, why? Well, the O-line is ridiculously incompetent. Every time the opponent's D brings 5, we get shelled. So goes the O-line, so goes the O. Yeah, but why is Russell Wilson missing those tells pre-snap? Why is he not sliding protection where he sees it? Why is he not throwing to his hots? He is not throwing to his hots, dude. So, yes, it's not just chicken, egg. It's chicken and egg in this case. Chicken or egg? No, chicken and egg. It's all of the above, and that's partly why everybody's so frustrated. Rod, supposedly we only needed a decent Q. This isn't on Russ. Terrible coaching. With decent coaching, the season would look different. I generally agree with that take, but again, I don't want to absolve Russell Wilson, who he's just not the player we thought he was going to be. He's not the player he showed himself to be for 10 years in Seattle. Andre says, once again, PS2 shows he's the best in the league. Yeah, he's legit, dude. He is the one thing you've really, really, really got to hang your hat on. Malachi, please tell me the downside of the new ownership group firing Hackett and Peyton now. Hate to say it, but this season looks lost. Maybe we should have invested in an O-line instead of giving up everything for Wilson. This is sad. Yeah, Peyton right now, Zach, I don't think that if this ownership group fires or pressures a firing of Hackett, barring some kind of a miracle turnaround like Rich Bisaccia did last year for Vegas, I'm not sure. I'm not as confident as I was even a week ago after the Colts lost that Peyton would be impervious to the same fate as Hackett.
Another why that you threw out a couple seconds ago is why isn't Russell Wilson audibling out of the play in the playbook that he handcrafted with Nathaniel Hackett? It's his offense. If he sees something better, if he wants to go under center, why can't he do it? It doesn't make sense. And the fact that George Paton thought the solution to the Broncos tackle woes were going to be Calvin Anderson, Tom Compton, and Billy Turner, that was going to do it. And a regressing Dalton Reisner, a bad Lloyd Cushenberry, that's the one criticism I do pin on George Paton.
Warrell says Washington flopped on that last muff. He didn't need to fall. I agree. He kind of felt the pressure and thought, I'm going to sell this. Oh, crap, that's my own guy. The ball's on the – dang it. I agree with you on that, bud. Michael, your quarterback struggling against the Chargers. We have just the guy for you. His name, Drew Lock, and he's a young guy who just needs the right system. He can be yours for a 3rd and 4th round pick. Go Hawks. Hey, Mike, thanks for the money, big dog. Patriot Tex, I think George Paton has to be looked at too. He's left huge holes on this roster. We seem to be settling for mediocrity. The Vikings model, George Paton learned. Maybe. I mean, George Paton took his shot in terms of moving a mountain to get Russ. He just also took a shot on the coaching hire and got it wrong in a big, bad way. Like Nathaniel Hackett, Zach, is not it.
No, but I mean, if you really want to boil down the George Paton effect through 2 years, look at his inaugural draft class. I mean, the foundational pieces he added. It's remarkable. It's a grand slam. Williams and PS2 and Miners and Browning and Cooper and Caden Stearns. That's 5 instant impact players and a handful of picks, whatever it was, 8 or 9 picks. So George Paton's done a lot more good than bad, but neglecting the O-line. And I guess in hindsight now, going all in on Hackett over Kevin O'Connell or some of the other coaches out there, that was the biggest mistake.
Antonio, yeah, that is a tough way to lose. And I was just talking about this from Josh. Elway Costas, Josh Allen, and Kyle Shanahan. I actually had that very conversation with somebody in my family over the weekend. Andre, appreciate you, buddy. Ross, you the man, Charger fan here. He says that was ugly. All love for Bronco Nation, though. Hope you guys get it figured out. Beat Vegas and Kansas City, please. A classy Chargers fan. I think that is appreciated right now, my friend. Appreciate that. We shall see. Jonathan Peterson, number 1, says $250 million, 10 years of experience, can't read a defense, can't slide protection, audible, or hit open receivers, or throw hot. Know where your hots are, dude. Even if you suck at the can't read D and slide pro thing pre-snap, fine. Do you at least know what your hot routes are on a given play? Russ, dude, come on. Yeah, the OL sucks, he says. So does the coaching. Multiple levels of failing across. Hot read. You know why they call it your hot read? Pop quiz. It's because that's where you go with the ball hot if things are coming at you quick. Like if the pressure's coming, if it's a blitz or whatever, and you don't have time to fully go through your progressions, what's your first resort? Your first resort is your hot. Russell doesn't ever look. I mean, go watch the dudes who break down the film. All right. Kurt Warner, pick the guy. I don't care. One of the themes you will continuously see, Zach, from these guys that have been evaluating Russell Wilson through 5 games previous, and now this will be the 6th, is that he doesn't even, it's like he doesn't know what a hot read is. The best quarterbacks, look at Patrick Mahomes. When the pressure comes, what does he do? He definitely throws hot, but he also knows that throw into the blitz. Why? Because if they're bringing numbers from that side of the field or from that sector, then they're going to be light there too. So what's your pattern there? Who's going to be? That's where you should know where you should be going. Russell doesn't have the poise. He doesn't have like the presence of mind right now to factor those split-second things in when the chips are down.
Patrick Mahomes also has Andy Reid, which is a stark deviation from Nathaniel Hackett as a play caller. And you're right, Chad. There should be more hot reads, and Russell Wilson should be able to find them. But I can't recall exactly when, 4th quarter or overtime, the Broncos probably went 3 and out. We saw an all-22 shot of the play. It was like 3rd and 7. It was 3rd and manageable. There was no one even near the line to gain. Everyone ran 15, 20-yard routes. So that says to me, that's on coaching. That's on the schematic factor at play for the Broncos' ineptitude, is that Nathaniel Hackett, he can draw up some good plays, but boy, does he galaxy brain himself more often than not. Tries to get cute or tries things that just do not work.
There's a theme that Silent Ones I'm going to talk about here that even some of Russell Wilson's former teammates in Seattle seem to subscribe to. And yeah, I'm talking about Richard Sherman specifically, that he wanted out of Seattle because he wanted to be able to go out and prove that his success was not or should not have been attributed to the Legion of Boom or the coaching staff. And he wanted a situation, Zach, where he could call the shots instead of being forced to run an offense that he felt like limited him in terms of the accolades each year, even though he got the accolades. He didn't get the MVPs, but he got the accolades. 9 Pro Bowls, silent, fake emails, fake the emails, Hackett needs to go. But he says that Hackett's problem is allowing Russell to do what he wants, and that Seattle knows this, Zach.
2 things real quick. Russell Wilson's at the podium right now addressing the press. He goes, quote, "That's a good team over there, but I feel like we're just as good, if not better." That's number one. So that's pure just player speak, pure delusion. I wouldn't put anything into that. But here's what he said, quote, "We don't have division in our locker room. Everyone is fighting their butts off. We still believe in everything we can do." First of all, still believe, it's only week 6. And the fact that he even had to say that, I think shows there is division. And he's just trying to, I think, will it away. I think he realizes where things are between the offense and defense. And Justin Simmons' comments and his speech on the sideline, I think, prove that.
Naj, I feel sick for the defensive players. Those guys are special week in and week out. Evero has been a pleasant surprise. Agreed. Absolutely no desire to establish the run. Why? Just so baffling. No run game equals no play action. Well, it depends on if you want to subscribe to the conspiracy theory, Naj, that this is all Russell Wilson's doing on the play calling aspect, and that Hackett would be doing more, but he's kind of caving and letting Russell Wilson kind of call things. And, there's just like a lot of conspiracy theories out there, Zach, there's usually a kernel of truth that gets blown out of proportion. But yet that's what they use to kind of hang their hat on the veracity of the conspiracy theory. I think that, of course, Hackett is trying to do the things when Russ comes to him and says, "Hey, I like this here, I like this there." Blah, blah. Hackett's probably trying to play ball with him in that sense. But at the same time, he's the guy that is calling the plays, all right, on a game, play in, play out basis. And you're not seeing Russell audible. You're not seeing him. I mean, I've seen it a few times, Zach, but it's definitely not on the reg. Erica says, disgusted that the most consistent thing about this team is the ability to lamely score 16 freaking points. Word.
16 of the most boring points you'll ever see. I agree.
Jay Bird, thank you for the stars on Facebook. And I got to tell you guys, look, we're here for you. All right. I'm a lot of the passion of this stuff, the highs, the lows, they kind of get taken out of it a little bit over time when you do what we do. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm really struggling not to be apathetic at this point. Okay. I'm not going to succumb to that, but I'm at the same time, I'm feeling very like, what's the point? We've seen this before. We've heard this song before, but we're going to keep showing up. We're going to keep breaking it down. We're going to keep hoping, all right, that something could shift, something could turn. And if not, we're going to be here together to watch the whole thing burn to the ground once again. Jay Bird says Wilson was absolute garbage in the second half. No emotion, no fire, no heart. He acts like he couldn't care less. Hey, props for actually using that phrase the correct way. People too often say could care less when immediately seconds after the kick, he's hugging on Derwin James. Yeah, Hackett needs to be gone, but Wilson is garbage, says Jay Bird, Zach, period.
I would like to see more fire and energy and a couple F-bombs out of Russell Wilson, some trash talking, but it's just not his forte. It's just not him. And that's why I said on a podcast, it was last week at some time, the Russell Wilson that we see publicly is probably the same Russell Wilson privately. I think that's just who he is. And if you wanted a Phillip Rivers or someone like that, you're not going to get him in Russell Wilson. He is who he is.
Oh, no, we suck again. I did my best Rob Schneider impression there. Albert Knoppers, good to see you, bro. He says the right guard playing center for the Chargers for his first NFL game was better than Cushenberry. You ain't lying, big dog. You ain't lying. Cody's saying we should have sent Judy to Seattle instead of Fant. Judy just does not have any chemistry with Russell Wilson. It's bizarre because he is a talented receiver, but obviously overdrafted. Jacoy says maybe we can convince Carolina to swap Judy for McCaffrey, Zach. there are some rumors out there that the Broncos are interested in McCaffrey, like he's going to come save this thing.
Do you really think you're going to get Christian McCaffrey for just Jerry Jeudy? It's going to cost multiple draft picks the Broncos do not have. A running back, especially one that's highly paid and injury prone, is not going to save this offense. If you want to trade for a head coach, maybe that would do it, but not Christian McCaffrey.
Ted, even when I win $200 betting against Denver, like tonight, it still hurts. Haven't reached the laughing part of the Walter White crawl space scene yet. Hashtag Breaking Bad. I'll throw in there for you, my friend. Okay, we are about out of time. All right, so I want to make sure I'm going to try and rapid fire any lingering supers like Miyachi, who wants to know, what did you guys think of Damari Mathis? I felt like he mostly looked great. Some of the penalties seemed unfair. I agree. A couple of them were unfair, but he also brought a couple on. I think that if he can get a little bit better presence of mind, some better coaching techniques, he doesn't have to cheat. And by that, I don't mean like really cheating, but he doesn't have to tug. He's good enough that he can win in the straight up way. Coaches just need to make that a better point of emphasis and then give the man some help. You know what? When he starts slumping and the opposing quarterback and offense coordinator are like literally, oh, it's 3rd and 9. Let's just send a guy deep on 27. Oh, hey, what do you know? It worked again. PI. Like when that becomes actual strategy in the game, your coaching staff should go, okay. We either need to respond by putting someone else in, or like we need to seriously figure out ways to help him with double teaming his zone or whatever. It didn't really feel like they got that, but I'm not going to pan Mathis, dude. He was put in a real tough situation today. They went after him, and then the refs really had a you know what for him.
Which was smart on the Chargers' part. You know, a rookie in prime time, you're at home. I mean, it's his first ever start. Why not test him and see what you can do? But I thought he held up reasonably well. If the referees weren't so ticky-tack, he would have had maybe one DPI, which is normal for most cornerbacks not named Patrick Surtain. And this kind of action is only going to make him a better cornerback. I loved him when he was drafted. I think the Broncos got a steal in the 4th round. And with time, he can blossom into that long-term number 2 cornerback taking over for Ronald Darby.
Very sticky. And that play he made on 4th down to get the Broncos defense off the field, that was clutch. I was so happy for him.
And his run defense is top-notch.
Yeah, yes. Alex, with how bad the O-line's been, I'm curious why Mike Boone was in for pass pro multiple times tonight. Am I missing something?
You missed Gordon getting benched.
Well, what you're missing, Alex, is that the Broncos don't really have a killer back for pass pro right now. So it's kind of like, what do you do there? Maybe bring on an additional tight end, I guess you could do to help stay in the block. But doing so would then require the quarterback to understand how to slide the protections when he sees what the defense is doing. You know, we're starting to go back in circles here. When it comes to the different plays they're leaving. Yeah, we got this one. My bad. Raymond, what was at the game tonight probably the point of no return for me this year. Hopefully we can use this time to build a better offense for next year. Go Broncos, I think is what that means, GB. Feel you, my friend. Keep your chin up.
The best way to summarize Mike Boone, I mean, he's a pass-catching back that can't catch passes. The flip play that Russell Wilson had to him, that should have been a catch. That should have been a reception, but he let it go through his fingertips. He wasn't good in pass pro. I mean, I'd love to have Phillip Lindsay back right about now. That's just me, though. And by the way, real quick, Russell Wilson said, we should have won that game. There's no excuses. He also revealed he dealt with a hamstring injury that got me pretty good. So here comes the excuses.
Yep. Tom, I'm sorry, but when Simmons said leadership, I think he meant Wilson. This team does look divided. The O is sick of Russ's personality. Maybe. That's right now. I feel you, Tom. It could be anything at this stage. Marcus Durant, thank you, buddy. This is hard to listen to, guys. How can we rally for Fangio for 2 years and give up on Hackett after 6 games? This team is still growing, and they need to vibe. We have the same chance to go 11-0 as 0-11 over the next games. Hey, Marcus, I tip my cap to you, dude, for the positivity. Seriously, I tip my cap to you for the optimism and the faith and the belief. It's just that I haven't seen anything from this team this year that makes me want to believe anymore. I mean, even back then, let's turn back the clock, pardon me, to the first 2 years of the Fangio regime. Well, at the end of what we had halfway through when things weren't going our way was what, Zach? Hey, Drew Lock will come off IR any moment now. We'll see what the future is. Then he comes off IR and he goes 4-1 as a starter. And so we go, okay, we got something to keep us excited. And then year 2, it's the pandemic year. Things don't go well. He gets hurt early, and we're like, oh, well, it's hard to kind of read into this. It was the pandemic year. We'll keep our chins up. There were extenuating circumstances. Point to me, Marcus. Hey, seriously, I want whatever you had for dinner tonight. I want that same meal. But you tell me what you've seen this year that gives you any reason to like be hopeful for this. Like what is coming or could be coming this year besides just saying, hey, they could turn around next week. They could, but what makes you think that that's going to happen? Like there's nothing to really hang your hat on. I'm not trying to be myopic, but I just don't think these are very comparable to the Fangio first year. Sorry.
Yeah, when we're talking about the Broncos and the next opponent on their schedule is the Jets, and I say to myself, the Jets could really beat the doors off the Broncos if they play like this. That's not a good situation to be in, and I don't really echo that positivity. They'll give Hackett the year, I think. I think he should get the year because firing a head coach after 6 games is a little too knee-jerk for me, but 11-0 down the stretch, I will donate to your charity of choice $1,000 for every game they win, 11 grand if they go 11-0 over the course of the season. I hope it happens, not for my bank account, but for your sake and Broncos country's sake. I just don't see it.
All right, last super chat, then we got to go for tonight, okay? Naj, love you, big dog. He says, what hurts the most is it feels like there isn't much to be optimistic about. Having to get another coach means another system, etc. Just painful. It is. And that's why I'm not trying to dunk on my dude Marcus. Okay, Marcus, I wasn't trying to dunk on you. And anyone who's listened to this show for longer than a day or two knows that we're typically optimistic. Okay, we try to find the silver lining, but I'm telling you, like we're not seeing anything from this team that leads us to believe that good times are around the corner. But I don't know. Like I said, guys, as you might sense, I'm having a really hard time not succumbing to the apathetic, just fatalism of here we go again. All right. But when we see you again on Thursday, Zach and I, maybe I'll have a different tone. I don't know. We call this a gut reaction for a reason. We're here to work out our hormones. This is right off the cuff. This is where the emotions are riding high, whether they be positive, negative, whatever. And after 6 games of this, and this was supposed to be a quarterback, 9-time Pro Bowler, a $250 million quarterback. What are we doing?
See, it's not just 6 games, though. And what you were saying before is that you're apathetic. You and I, doing this podcast over the years, and me particularly, I'm so desensitized to the Broncos having a losing season, an injury-ravaged season, poor coaching, poor quarterback play, and I'm sure many in Broncos country feels the same way. And when you boil it down, realistically, objectively, what glimmer of hope do the Broncos have? Strip away everything on the roster and you look at things on an individual basis. Evero seems like a keeper for sure. There's foundational players on defense, but who really on offense? When you boil it down, you look at it fairly, what is there to get excited about on that side of the ball? Not much.
Look, I still want to be able to say to you, hey, look at Russell Wilson's resume. We shouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I want to say that. I want to hang my hat on that. And at the end of the day, that's probably once the emotions of tonight's embarrassment wear off, that's probably the posture I'll end up taking as well. Hey, let's he's had bad starts to seasons before and they turn it around. That's happened. But his head coach was Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll's got his own words, but Nathaniel Hackett's who he's got now, Zach. So I don't know, dude. Fred says Tim Patrick.
Coming off an ACL. I mean, that's the biggest glimmer of hope on the Broncos offense is Tim Patrick. I love Tim Patrick, but he's a number 2 receiver. I mean, we should be talking about the offensive coordinator, the head coach, or the quarterback, and we can't talk about any of them right now. I don't care about Russell Wilson's resume. I don't care what he did in Seattle. To your point, Chad, Pete Carroll has Geno freaking Smith humming, and they have injuries on that offense too. And yet, look what they're getting out of Geno Smith, and the Broncos just aren't getting anything but a lemon out of Russell Wilson.
Geno went 20 for 31, 197, but the Seahawks won. Seahawks are 3-3. They're little bit better than the Broncos right now, not by leaps and bounds, but what they put up the week prior, like 48, 49, something like. But all right, Zach, let's say goodnight for tonight.
Yeah, that was the Gut Reaction podcast for another Broncos loss, another ugly Broncos defeat that is sure going to quell up some criticism and apathy in Broncos country. Until we see you guys next time on Thursday for our Aftermath episode, follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch, you know where it is, huddleuppod.com. And be sure to follow facebook.com/mileaheadpod. Like that page, follow that page. And if you haven't, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every month. But as you see ticking below you, please sub, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos country, just like you.
That's right. EJ, shout out to these great supporters tonight. Super Chat Superstars on YouTube. EJ, Addison, Ryan, Jess, The Brainstorm, Franklin, Austin, Patriot Tex, Neil, Keith, Cody, Brian, James, Plumbob, Wero, Jonathan, MacDog, Clayton, Alex, Kim, Robert Otteson, Brandon, Chris, legend, Lilo, Orange, Naj, legend, Corey H, legend, James Todd, Eddie Vasquez, you're all legends, all right? RD, Orange, again, King, Faded Wolf, Silent One, D-Dub, who we love, Jorge, Andre, Jacoy, Luke, Ed, keep your chin up, Ed, Austin, Michael Davis, let's see, Malachi, great to see you, Malachi, another Michael, all right, different Michael, Antonio, Josh, Ross, Jonathan, that's Jonathan Peterson, Silent One, Erica, Ted, Miyachi, Raymond, Tom, Marcus, love you guys. And then on Facebook, you know who it is, Andrew, Anthony, Lawrence, Fred, Howie, Jaybird, Phil, Colby, Broncos, Denver, George McGill, and Patrick. Much love and respect, guys. We'll get it together. We'll slough this off. I'll speak for myself. This is probably the most negative I've ever been on a podcast. I'll probably have a different tone when you hear from me next.
Yeah, I probably won't. The Broncos had 11 days to do better than a 9-point outing against the Colts. Look what they did. 16 points. They can't get over the hump. Same old from the Broncos, but we'll get back into it Thursday. We'll see you guys then. Try to have a great rest of your night. Great start to your week. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.